Hello and welcome. This is John Bloom of Bloom Consulting. In this video, we're going to show how to deploy an SSRS report from Microsoft SQL Server to the portal for SSRS. So let's go ahead and get started. If you remember in our last video, we went ahead and created this quick demo report. So essentially, we opened the tool for creating the SSRS. We created the shared connection, and then we created the RDL report. We established the link from the data source, and then we brought in a data set. And the data set contained a stored procedure with two parameters, and those parameters are connected through these parameters here. And when you go ahead and initiate the preview of the report, you'll be prompted with the two parameters that take integer parameters, and then you can run the report successfully and everything good to go. So that's good that it works on my local machine, but I think some of the people that requested the report don't want to have to sit at my desk all day when they run this report. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and move that report to the portal. Now, how do you do that? Well, the nice thing about Microsoft Reporting Services is that there's a tool that is used to administer the reporting server. Now, what has to happen, though, is that the server has to be started. Now, in order to start the server, you have to make sure that your service is running. So what I had to do was go to my services and click on this server here, as well as this one. I don't know. I did them both for the fun of it. But you only need the one that you're attaching to, and I believe it's this one. So I went ahead and started that because it's set to manual. Once it was started, then this thing registered that the thing started. And then obviously I've already set up the server in the past when the install was done. And there's a bunch of configuration settings. Now these URLs here are important because this is the web URL service. And then so that's actually the service that we're going to push the reports to when we deploy the report project from our tool. So this is the actual reporting URL that we point to when a user would point to. So what happens is I went ahead and plugged in that URL, and guess what? It says J. Bloom does not have sufficient privileges to run that web on this particular machine. Now that's pretty standard though, and the way that you get around it is that you open Internet Explorer when you type in start and start typing, then the Internet Explorer pops up. What you do is you right click on it and say run as administrator. After you run it as administrator, it opens like this. Now, it was a blank slate when I first opened it. And you'll see that the data source is already there, as well as the report. Now that's not magic. What happened was that I went back to my project. And from the project, I right click up here and click on properties. From properties, it defaulted all that stuff except for this one line here. Now, if you look, it's called the target server URL. So Bloom laptop / report server. Well, that's very important because, like I say, 6 times the charm. So it took me 6 tries to remember how to do that. Now, it may take you 3 or 20. I don't know. But anyway, what happened? I happen to have this URL here that I remembered, and it gives a good description of what you're supposed to do. And it tells you you're supposed to point to the server. So that's an important piece of information. But anyway, that's how you do it. And this is a very helpful web page. So getting back to our report, what we did was we set our URL. This is the folder it's going to create. It's going to create a data set folder if it's not already there. And then we're not going to overwrite the data set because what happens in production, you may have 50,000 reports in your production database, and you don't want to be updating the data connection every time unless you choose to do so by selecting the true button, overwrite data source and overwrite data sets. So that's that. Now what happens is, in order to deploy the sucker, all you do is you right click and say deploy. So what you'll see down here is that it's actually doing something, and it's success. Wow. So anyway, what we do is we go to our portal, and sure enough, there is our data source. And if you notice, it happens to be a shared data source because that's what we specified during the report creation. And that means that the same connection can be leveraged from multiple reports. Now, I like this feature here called dependent items because, for example, in production, you may have 600 reports pointing to this. So it's helpful for that purpose to know, like if I change this report connection, how many reports are going to be affected. So another nice feature it did, it created our folder for us. And within our folder, it created our report. And within our report, because I'm logged in as administrator, excuse me, it should open and prompt me to enter some parameters. That's the goal anyway. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I clicked on it, and this little turning wheel here indicates that something's happening. So we'll hope for the best. And anyway, I have one of these fast machines. It was fast probably 5 years ago, but I think, anyway, so there we go. And now, if you remember correctly from our video, we were supposed to enter 2005, and then 0101, and then 2005, 1231. Now, that's an entire year, and I remember there's a 1,013 rows. So we'll go ahead and click on the View Report, and our report is running on the server. It accepted the parameters. It called the store procedure, passed in the values of the parameters, executed the query, and then makes a round trip returning the data set to our report, and sure enough, there it is. Now, you can actually scroll to the end. Likewise, you can export to a variety of options. So that's a great feature. And now, the users don't have to sit at my desk all day unless they want to, of course, because I got no problem with that, but I might have some other work to do from time to time. So that's a quick intro on how to get started with the SSRS deployment from your IDE tool. And I will get you the name of that IDE tool because I've said it like 3 times without saying it, and it's called SQL Server Data Tools. So there you go. So again, my name is John Bloom from Bloom Consulting. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please be on the lookout for more videos in the future. Thanks for watching.